I bow to all the seekers of truth. May God give you wisdom and understanding about the truth and about Himself. Dr. Warren just now brought out a point that if somebody is doing this work in a split of a second, even on the television when it was only 1 minute, if it works out, then there has to be somebody special. All this kind of talk is not necessary in India, because Indians are well educated in spiritual matters. They know what is the Shakti is, what is Kundalini is, they know the chakras, they are very well equipped. They have got the names of the Shakti in which it is said so. So to them it is not to be told and requested. But in the West, though such great saints have been born, such seekers are born, they have forgotten the knowledge that they had, perhaps, of the power of God. And that's why I find the sensitivity of people is not towards understanding the reality, but more they take to artificial things. Perhaps the more we are in contact with machine, we become more akin or close to machine. We try to understand everything in a machine-like manner, but not in that sensitive way that people had once upon a time. Even at the time of Christ, except for few Jews who didn't like him because they wanted to have their own money-making propositions, they crucified him. Even the judge who judged him, his wife, could understand that he was a saint. And the people around him, who were simple people, all of them knew that he was something saintly. Even at the time of Sri Krishna and Sri Rama it has happened. I agree that many saints have been crucified, have been tortured, but not by the general public, by general people. It has been done by people who were in power or who were professing some sort of a religion, who thought that their religion is in danger because they were making money out of that religion. These are the people who did all these atrocities, and they brought forth this kind of calamity or this kind of torture to the great saints who lived. But today it's just the other way around. The public is not sensitive enough. That's a very hard thing to feel, that the public itself is not understanding what is the truth and how to come to the truth. Yesterday, in short, I told you, first of all, we have to be honest people if we want to find the truth. It's a simple proposition that we have to be honest about it. That we should know that we cannot purchase the truth. Secondly, the truth is what it is. Whatever are your own conceptions about truth is not the truth, is your own idea, your mental projection. Truth is what it is, it will be forever and ever. And truth cannot compromise for you, you have to compromise for the truth. It's the other way around thing. That you have to compromise for the truth. You have to understand that so far those concepts you had, relatively if they are not near the truth, then you have to give them up. It's a very strange thing that you great people who are seekers are born in various countries. In so many countries I find. And then at this juncture, when it is not because there is so much sickness and all that, but it's a special time also. It's a time of resurrection. It's the time of your last judgment. At these great times that people should lose their sensitivity to reality. It is amazing how people take to artificial things. So many things people have done just because they could not see through. That's why I requested you yesterday, you must come to some logical conclusion. You must use your brains and understand that reality, if it lies within you, and if it is a living process of your evolution, then it has to be done in a way that is not done by human beings. Because no living work is done by human beings. It cannot be done. We cannot transform one flower into a fruit, leave alone a human being into a spirit. So it has to be done by the same process which has made us human beings. And the same process, that is living force of God's love, of living God's love, should do the job. So it has to be spontaneous. You cannot achieve it through your efforts. Actually, those who tell you like that you have to achieve it through your efforts, or you have got your karmas, you have got to suffer and all that, are just giving excuses. They don't know how to achieve it. They are just giving excuses. Must understand that if you have got that power within you, it has to manifest spontaneously. For example, some people may not get realization. Maybe little bit, very little bit percentage, I hope. May not be. But that is nothing wrong with Sahaja Yoga. There must be something wrong within you, physically, mentally, emotionally. There must be something wrong. So we have to correct it, and we have to see that you get your realization in a proper way, and that it is achieved through your own understanding, in your own glory, that you should know that you have got your realization. This is the only difference between the evolutionary process so far from animal to this stage, that human beings will be aware of their realization. They will know all about it, because now they have become masters, that they are not doing things automatically. They will know that this power is flowing through them, and they will also know how to handle it, which can be decoded through Sahaja Yoga. And you have to learn the technique of operating God's laws, which are tremendous and wonderful. You believe it or not, God exists. His loving power is all-pervading. We have never felt it before. I agree there. You have never felt that His all-pervading power is everywhere. You have felt the ether through which we receive the television and other communications. But you have not felt that subtle power which is all-pervading, not only but that, but is the subtle of all these growths that you see. But the time has come, a very precious time, that you have to get it. So all your other identifications, I'm sorry, you have to drop them. You have to just become yourself. Whatever you have gathered in lifetime, all kinds of concepts and precepts and all that, forget it. Just think that you are a human being and you have to get your realization. That's the most important thing. All the rest of things are of no use. So I would request you, first of all, in all honesty, try to be the spirit, and if you become the spirit, try to understand the path of progress in your spiritual ascent. Now to come to the point of this subtle instrument already created within us. To come to this point, we have to understand, as I told you yesterday, that this is the knowledge of the roots. Whatever you have so far is the knowledge of the tree. But you don't have any knowledge of the roots. Many people have told me, Mother, what Christianity has failed, that religion has failed, this religion has failed. How can it be? If there is God, how can it be? I mean, there are communists also in this world who deny God completely. But it's not that the religions have failed, not the prophets have failed, not the incarnations have failed. It's the people who represented them wanted to make something of their own concept, of their ideas, and the whole thing has become such a marketplace that I just don't understand how can you sell God? How can you sell His ideas? There's no business about God. Now, this one is the great instrument that you have within yourself. Yesterday I told you that you need not accept me as a sort of a conditioning on your mind. But as a scientist, keep an open mind. And this is the hypothesis I put before you. And when it works out, you have to see if it is all right or not. Now, some of you who might be doubting about it or thinking that, oh, it's all another story or thing like that, they can go ahead with it. Because divine is not interested in such people. Divine is only interested in people who are honestly seeking the truth. So this center that you see, the first of all, is a very important center. I don't know what he has told you about it, but it's called as the Muladhara. It's the center of Muladhara. Center of Muladhara. Muladhara itself is that triangular bone, which is a very small triangle, you cannot see it clearly. We should have expanded it to show you, which contains in itself the power of Kundalini. Is the power of that energy, which I told you yesterday, is the pure desire to become one with God. All other desires are not satiable. That's why this is the only desire that has to manifest, otherwise you are not going to be satisfied with your life. Now this pure desire exists in that triangular bone, and you could see it also when you raise the Kundalini, this pulsating there, just like a heart, but not on every person, not on every seeker. Only those who have a problem with the other two centers, you can see with your naked eye the pulsation of the Kundalini. When there is such a pulsation of the Kundalini, we have to know that these two centers are in problem in human beings. And these two centers are, the higher one is called as the Nabhi Chakra, which means the center, the subtle center of the navel. And this center manifests outside what we call the solar plexus. In the medical terminology is called as solar plexus. But that's the gross thing. This is the subtle center which is in the medulla oblongata in the spinal cord. Now this is a very, very important center within us again, which was created since long when we were seeking. First, as animals, we were seeking food. Then also we were seeking our evolution, because animals also sought their ascent from one unicellular animal to a multicellular animal, like all the quadrupeds are, or the mammals are. How they arrived it is no one can say, because the power that worked for it lies in the central part of the central nadi called as Sushumna Nadi. So first we were seeking the food. Then we were seeking the shelter, as you go by in the history. Then as we evolved more and more, we started seeking our joy in, say, economics, in possessions. Then in politics, in power. Then we evolved much more. And we thought there's no joy in all these things. We have had enough of it. Especially affluence helps you a lot. Because affluent people get fed up of materialism and the plastic mountains that they have created, and they just want to have something simple in life. At this stage, then they start thinking of their spirit. They think, how is it that we are not yet satisfied? How is it we are so restless? What are we seeking? Some of them know what they are seeking, some of them don't know what they are seeking. But even if they know what they are seeking, they don't know how it will happen and what should we expect. That's a very important thing where I find Indian people are better equipped. But you have another great equipment, that your desire to seek is very strong. is extremely strong and you go like a bull at it. I've seen people who got realization and they were running so fast towards it that even after getting realization, they would not accept that they have sought it. They would not stop. You see, like a bull is running very fast. You see, even if you offer him something to eat, he won't be able to stop at that point. He goes a little ahead, then he looks back. Yes, that's it. So he comes back. It has happened with so many people who have done a kind of a guru shopping, I would call it. It's a habit. They take a bag in the hand with little money, go around in the shop. Now, which guru is available? So they go to one guru, all right, it's no good, hopeless. Then you go to another guru, third guru. And Sahaja Yoga is a temple somewhere away from that market. So that habit is also formed in human beings of seeking, that even being introduced to Sahaja Yoga and even after becoming the spirit, feeling the all-pervading power, still they don't want to stop because the inertia is too much and still they are going on. But after some time, they reverse back. I've seen many things like that happening in Sahaja Yoga. In every place I went to, especially in England, is very common that in first shot, they just can't believe it. How can it be? It's not so simple. Because then their ego is finished. They have found it. How can it be? We can do it ourselves. So they forget about Sahaja Yoga for a while. Then the Kundalini comes and tickles them all over. Again she comes and clears them all over. Then they start thinking, what's happening to me? And then they come back to me and say, Mother, I must say there was something that had happened, but I was too fast and I was too speedy and I just didn't get the glimpse of it. All right, settle down now. So that's one thing is always common and it's all right, it's excusable. This doesn't matter, you take your own time. I am not in a hurry. But divine is in a very great hurry and the work has to be done in a very great speed now. It is very important that we have to move in a very tremendous speed. So this seeking within us is surrounded by this ocean of illusion within ourselves. This ocean of illusion comes to us because of our ignorance. We see things which do not exist. For example, there's a gentleman who comes to us, is very sweet to talk to. And after some time we find that we are missing our purse. It's gone. He was very nice, very well dressed, and how is it he's vanished? Most of the bank robbers are very well dressed people. And the way they do it is surprising how they befool. Very intelligent people also by their dress, by their methods and the way they perfect themselves. So what happens that you cannot make out reality. And this illusion is in everything we have. And in that illusion all the time we are lost. We feel that this is the house I have built. What a nice thing I have done. Such a great thing. But if you look at it, after all, this is all dead from to the dead. You make a chair, then you think, oh, I've made a big chair. Now, this chair is all right, but tomorrow you won't be able to sit on the ground if you are sitting on the chair. So, like many illusions we have about things. Material things also say now, if I have, say, a beautiful carpet like this one, it's not mine, thank God. But supposing I possessed it, then I have to go to insurance company. I have to look after it. I should bother now, have you given it back to me or not? But if it is somebody else's, I am enjoying it very well and without worrying about it. But the idea of possessions also come in. Then there is an idea of relationships also. All these are such great illusions. They just open out, absolutely open out as soon as you find the light of spirit in your attention. Like in this room, when you enter in, you find it's dark, you catch hold of a chair, you will say chair is the room. Somebody will say this, pillar is the room. Somebody will say something else. But supposing you just push a button, the light comes in. Then you understand what is this room, what is the relationship with each other, the whole integrated. knowledge about this room comes to you when there is light. And this is what one should understand out of enlightenment. But the illusion is, people think that when they are deluded, they are rising. The other day somebody asked me a very funny question, that is schizophrenia, is it a step to enlightenment? Now can you imagine? But then I heard that there's a very big book written about this by some gentleman who says that you have to become mad to become a self or a spirit. Can you imagine such a stupid thing? It has not happened in any evolution of ours, and why should it happen now that we are human beings so beautifully created that we have to become mad to become something higher? I have not heard of any mad person who becomes higher by becoming mad so far. But this kind of a theory is going on. So you can imagine how there are delusions and how there are illusions, and there are sources of these negative forces which are giving you all the time the waves and waves of this illusion that you live in this illusion. So is doubly crowded, is doubly blackened. And that's how, if people cannot find the truth, I am not surprised about it. Now this place is called as Bhavasagara, is the ocean of illusion in which we live. And we are seekers. So this one is bestowed upon by 10 valencies that are within us. Because we must keep our valencies all right. Even if you are in the, say, ocean, our ship should be seaworthy. Then any kind of illusion is not going to deter us, if we are seaworthy. But seaworthy means we must know, if there is a fog, how to move in right direction. We should know how to overcome all the hazards of all kinds of storms, and all knowledge should be built in within us. And that built-in knowledge is this dharma, as they call it, is a religion within you, not without but within you, which are 10 valencies. As the carbon has 4 valencies, it has 10 valencies. So we have within us already a built-in system which gives us this guideline. But the illusion is such that in that illusion we develop another problem, and that is we never listen to right people. The right people are the 10 primordial masters who came on this earth. They have had many other masters also, not that they were not right, but major 10 primordial masters came on this earth, and they gave us complete knowledge as to how to balance ourselves and keep to ourselves as human beings. But then the question can be asked, why this balance? For what? Why should we have this balance? First of all, to keep a good health. Secondly, to have a very good nature. Thirdly, to live like a human being with others and not like donkeys or like lions. It is a balancing thing which gives you a proper balance to have a proper society, a proper kind of life in which you lead a normal life and you are not on your own, by which you are in relation with the whole. Now you see, the relationship is from there to the whole. But last of all, this balance is important, that you should achieve your ascent. Any aeroplane which has got only one wheel will not fly, though it has to fly in the air, but it has to have 2 wheels. It has to have a balance. An imbalanced thing cannot fly out. That's why we have to have the balance. And that is why these prophets have taught us the methods of how to balance it. Balance ourselves. Keep ourselves in balance and don't go to extremes. But whatever they might try, whatever they may say, we just go in the opposite direction of what they have told us, and we really go into an extreme condition of fanaticism or some sort of a torture to ourselves or some sort of a great harm to our being. That's human nature. That I cannot explain why so. Why they are anxious to ruin themselves, this is beyond me to understand. Because God has tried His level best to make you happy. He has tried to give you everything. But if you are bent upon ruining yourself, what can you do? You see, the sun is shining and is giving sunshine to everyone. But if some leaves want to get inside the mud, what can the sun do? I mean, it is like come bull and hit me sort of a process people take to. I don't know why they take it. This you may be able to explain better. But to my simple mind, I just don't understand. So these things happen to us by which we try to ruin ourselves. Now, the first of all, as they said about the curing part of it, which I must talk to you about because it's not such an important thing in Sahaja Yoga. There is no accent on curing. I mean, we don't say that we cure this and cure that. I mean, it's not a hospital going on here, nothing of the kind. It's just that if you get your realization as a byproduct, you get well. That's it is. But you see, suddenly people ask you questions, can you cure this? Can you? I don't say I cure it. You are going to cure yourself through your own ascent. It can work out through Sahaja Yoga. And then it becomes a headline for everyone. She can cure this disease, she can. It was surprising that even in the television, they had put me as a healer, and I was amazed to look at myself. What is this they have put it? So they make out of you whatever they like. In Sahaja Yoga, it is not the healing that is important, it is becoming is important. That you become the spirit is important. You have to become the spirit. Now, for example, I'll tell you one small thing here, how imbalance causes so many troubles to us. There's another center here down below, if you see, it's called as the center of Swadhisthana, which gives aortic plexus as the gross manifestation of itself. Now, when this center goes into imbalance, it goes round and round. This ocean also, it can retract, it can go further. What happens? Now, this is the center for our future and for our creativity when it comes to the right, and when it moves to the left, because it has got a stem, like a lotus it moves, and if it comes to the left, it acts for something what we call unauthorized anti-God activity. So another one also is unauthorized, because when we say that I am doing that, then it is ego is created in you, and which passes into that pouch there in the head like a balloon, and you form a big institution of ego in your head. On the other side is this one, where it comes to the left, or any conditioning that takes place, that people say don't do that and don't do that, and all kinds of conditionings through any kind of teachings, that creates another institution called as superego. Now, when we go to the extremes of anything, how problems are caused, example of that I will try to give of one center, because there is no time for me to cover all the centers. Take this Swadhisthana chakra. It has a very important work to do, is to transform the fat cells of the stomach for the use of the cells of the brain. Brain also is made of fat cells. And when a person thinks, this special Swadhisthana chakra converts the fat cells for the use of the brain. Now, when you think too much for the future, you think. I mean, people are mad with thinking. Some of them did tell me, Mother, you cut my throat, do what you like, but stop my thinking. It has become another inertia sort of thing. They just want thinking. They just can't stop thinking, whatever they may try. So when this process starts of thinking, then what happens that this Swadhisthana, poor thing, goes into a great speedy process of transforming the fat cells. Now it has some other work to be done. Now this is going to the extreme, to think about everything. Sitting down, they will think that now they have become the Prime Minister of Australia, so what should they do to correct? I mean, there's nothing like an election, nothing has happened, but they're already thinking for the Prime Minister. If they're driving on the street, they're thinking for all the police department. If they are building one house, they'll try to find faults with another house, so that he should not have done, while the house they are going to make might collapse. But all the time the idea is to see and think about everything else that doesn't concern you. So this heavy load on your head makes it a big ego there. Apart from that ego, which is a horrid thing, which can make you absolutely stupid. But apart from that, it makes this poor Swadhisthana chakra work so hard that you neglect other important things in your body, the organs like your liver. Such people have very bad livers, those who think all the time, plan all the time. They will plan, even the ladies will plan all the cooking. Imagine, ladies planning all the cooking. It's absurd. Because you go to the market, you have planned for the fish and there's no fish in the market. And you are upset because you can't cook fish. But why did you plan? Whatever you get, you bring it home and cook it. That's the best way. So this planning business also goes on too far. When we go to the extremes, it so happens that we make this work too hard and we get a liver trouble. Then we get also the pancreas out of gear, because pancreas has to be worked through this Swadhisthana chakra. When it is out of gear, the disease you get is diabetes. A simple thing as diabetes. Now in India, if you go and see the villagers in India, they take at least 5 spoons of sugar, otherwise they don't think it's a tea. For tea, they must have 5 spoons of sugar. And they never suffer from diabetes. But in the cities, where the people even just touch the sugar, they get it back in their urine. So something wrong with the city people. And what is wrong with them is that they are using this Swadhisthana chakra all the time for thinking and thinking and thinking. Now another disease that one gets out of it is the disease of the spleen, which is a very serious thing. Spleen produces red blood corpuscles according to the necessity of the person. Now, any emergency arises, it starts producing more RBCs. Our life is such that we are always in emergency. Everyone is. Whether he is a shopkeeper or he is a minister, everybody seems to be very busy. Now, in the morning, first of all, to read newspapers is another curse. Because you read newspapers, you hear this is burned, that is finished, so many died, somebody in the aeroplane finished off, maybe our relation were there. So you get a real pain there in the stomach. That's done by this poor spleen. It goes into a big process, into very big mechanical production of RBC start. Now when that happens to you, then you don't know that you better keep the spleen now at least little rested for other things. But just then you will ask for a breakfast. You'll get into the car with the breakfast in your hand, eating that, and there's a jam in the way, and then you are screaming at because you're late. All sorts of things happen to us like that, and we go on creating emergencies for ourselves. For what? What are we going to gain out of it? With this hurry and scurry, what have we achieved? So the spleen goes out of order. It does not understand the crazy person. It becomes crazy itself. And it starts producing red blood corpuscles, this thing, that thing. Now you become vulnerable to a horrible disease called as leukemia. Of course, it is triggered by something else, about which I may be able to tell you today or tomorrow. But you are just vulnerable for a disease called leukemia, where just doctors will say you may die within 1 month or 2 months. That's all they can say about leukemia. Now, such a person doesn't realize that I have brought this disease upon myself by being like this. We are human beings. We cannot rattle like tins. We have to live like human beings. The way we rattle ourselves morning till evening is so dangerous for our being that we must have a balance in our life. We must learn how to rest. And rest is also another problem. Then they will go to the sea, burn themselves up completely extreme. I don't know why this fashion has started from where. Somebody must have put this into the ideas. You see, this is a very recent one. About 20 years back, nobody bothered about sunbathing. Nobody knew about it. I just don't understand also the psychology of the West. When they don't like black people, there are immigration problems. Why do they want to become black themselves? They tan themselves, there are tanning companies, there are this, that, all kinds of things are started. And that's how they, you get the disease called cancer of the skin, which is a very serious disease. And this beauty fashion is also for whom? I just don't understand that in India people think that you are very good-looking people because you are fair, and here you think Indians are better because they have got darker skins. So whatever we have, we are not satisfied with it. But it's not so important that we should kill ourselves with this sun tanning to that extent. So that's sort of an extreme. You do it with this Swadhisthana chakra, and you have problems of this kind. But also your tension can rise if you use too much of the Swadhisthana chakra, because your kidneys also become poor things. They don't know how to adjust to your madness. The way you lead your life, you don't think you are a human being, you think you are in a supersonic aeroplane. Then poor kidneys don't know how to work you out. You are made by God, not by human beings who have made supersonic aeroplanes, this, that. And the supersonic aeroplane doesn't think. First of all, it saves its energy because it doesn't think. First of all, when you think, you are spending most of your energy, and actually the way you spend your energy with an extreme way, you develop all these horrible diseases. Now what happens actually when you start doing too much to the right or to the left? Now the right side is a thing where people become extremely fanatic, very disciplined, all military people, you see, hot-tempered. You can't just go near them. If you go near them, you'll get nothing but heat coming out of them. They're very hot-tempered people, angry people, they lose their temper. You just can't talk to them because if you say a word, they'll box your nose. This type of people are so many in this world, you can't imagine. So many of them are, I have seen. I'm amazed how they exist with themselves. Why don't they box themselves sometimes? They might be. They are full of anger, frustration, and all kinds of bad feelings about others and about themselves. All these people, all this kind of people, come up when you become very austere. You say, oh, I will have no indulgences. I am absolutely living on a shoestring and eating just 2 leaves per day. Such people will thin out and they will look like mosquitoes. But I don't mind their looks, but the way they bite is the worst part. And they are sometimes regarded as the beauties. Then God save us from the beauties. Because if they become the, what beauties they are called as? World beauties or whatever, beauty contest, you see. So, models, this, that. Then they are lost people, absolutely lost to any senses. They become really stupid. Now, this kind of extremity comes to the right side, the left side comes when you indulge into something, like drugs. Now, people might say, what's wrong in drugs? It does such a damage to you. It does. People may not believe it, but it does. It does finish you off on your left side. As the alcohol may finish off your liver, the left side is completely jammed by the drugs you take. Because you move more towards the left. And the more you move, you go from your subconscious to the collective subconscious. And then you are attacked by negative forces. And that's why it attacks your brain also. Such people can just become gradually into a state of just like cabbages, and they would not even realize how it is happening. So all these things are harmful to us. Indulgences into anything can make you left-sided. Eating too much. There's one person eating 2 leaves, another is eating so much. See, all these extreme behaviors, as I said, create a very big problem. Now, how cancer can be caused, we have to see. Then I will move to other things. That supposing this is the center, and this center has got left side and right side. At every emergency, both the sympathetic nervous systems, which are expressed by these 2 nadis, go into action. And when too much action starts, what happens? The relationship is broken. And the deities who are controlling these go off to sleep. And when the relationship with the whole is broken, when it is broken, then you have no control from the main, you can say, from the whole. And the cells become on their own. When they become on their own, so individualistic, they become malignant. For example, if it happens in the stomach, you will find the liver will become so big. Or if it happens in the mouth or nose, the nose will become so big. The rest of has no chance. It's a very ego-oriented stuff. It goes increasing. And also if you live with an ego-oriented man, you can become also ego-oriented. Hitler is one of the examples of that. How he made people ego-oriented and so stupid. Actually so horrible. By his own great ego that he developed. So these cells also become like that, and they make other cells also malignant, and that's how the cancer is set in. Now to such a patient, what have you to do? You have to try to raise his kundalini. By giving some power there at that point, you can pacify. You can give some additional, as you call the petrol, to the exhausted one. And gradually when it is done, it comes back to its normal place. Then you put the kundalini through it. So it makes an ascent and keeps it in place. It awakens the deity in that center, and that center looks after the growth side of life. That is how cancer can be cured. It's true that Sahaja Yoga has cured cancer of so many people, and some people in 10 minutes have got rid of their cancer. 10 minutes is a fact. But that doesn't mean that I am going to cure everybody's cancer by any chance. It is not so. You see, the trouble with people is, they say, do you claim you can cure cancer? I said, I don't claim, but Sahaja Yoga can do it. Then you must cure this cancer. I said, why? Why should I cure? Are you paying me something? Have you called me here? I have come my own. If I want, I will, otherwise I will not. You see, it is like an aggression of this kind on a person that you must show how you can cure. Why should I show? I don't want to show you. Like I had a very big lecture in the medical college, medical institute in India, and of course the vice chancellor was very much impressed. But some of the doctors, they came and they said, Mother, we'll give you 4 patients of cancer and you cure them. I said, I have no time. I'm very busy. You better ask them to come to Sahaja Yoga, get their realization, cure themselves. I have no time for that. I'm sorry. I'm busy with other work. So then they said, all right, do you have any file of the patients you have cured? I said, I have none. I have no time for filing. It just flows, it just works. What am I to write down everywhere? This is it, I have cured this, XYZ. For what? I have no clientele. I do not have to cash it. So why should I do it? It's just flowing. Those who want to have it can have it and can work it out. But you cannot force me that I must write down it. For what? What is the purpose? I'm not running a hospital. I don't have to have a credibility on that. If I cure or not, for that doctors have to get their realization first. If they don't get their realization, I'm not bothered. If they are really bothered about cancer or any other disease, why don't they take their realization and help their patients? They can. But the patients who are not interested in God, God is also not interested in those patients. It's common sense. God has the greatest common sense. The lights which are never going to work out, which are absolutely useless, you are not going to repair them, will you? No human being is going to do that. What's the use of repairing a light which is never going to work out? So God is also like that. He has such a lot of common sense, he is not going to waste his energy for these things. The most important thing today is not to cure people, but to give them realization, to redeem them, to evolve them is the main problem. You can be counseled, you can be told everything, explained, you can be brought to logical conclusion, but the aim is to get your realization and not to worry about your illness. Illness will disappear gradually. It has happened with so many people and it should happen with you. But it should not be a condition that you come to Sahaja Yoga as an obligation on us, that we have come to Sahaja Yoga, you better now. That's not so. Because as you know, we have no organization. There's no organization that we have. You have to come humbly to it. And it works out. God is the ocean of compassion, ocean of love. He is the one who is so anxious that you all should enter into his kingdom to occupy your great seats as his children. He is the father of the fathers. He is the most loving father you could think of. Then when we challenge him like this, he doesn't like it. We have to enter into his kingdom in a humble way, and he will definitely bestow his blessings on all of you, because he's the one who is so anxious. I'm myself amazed at the way he is blessing people. Imagine 6,000 people before me, they just get realization. Can you imagine such a thing happening? I have seen myself it's happening. So many things are happening today that is evident that God is very gracious as well as He is wrathful. He is a wrathful God for people who do not take to Him. He is wrathful, and that's why one has to be careful. If you lead a life on your own, what's wrong? What's wrong is one of the philosophies people have. Then you have to pay for it, this way or that way. So, as a mother, I have to tell you that why not? When you have got everything, you have got the Spirit within you. The power is within you. Everything is there. Why not get your realization? Why succumb to this useless ego which is not yourself? You are not your ego, you are yourself. You are your spirit. And that spirit, when it comes to your attention, you become such a wonderful person. The whole thing is lost, like a lotus rising out of the mud. It covers the whole of that pond, and its fragrance fills the atmosphere with such beauty. That's what happens to you when you get it. So why not have that? Is your own within yourself, and the divine so anxious. I don't know what is the missing point. Today, I'm sorry, they have today called me after this program for a radio, and I'm going there. I don't know how many people are going to attack me on the phone. You see, all kinds of things they say on the phone. But I told them, I will not receive the phone. You better receive the phone and let me know. Because all these things I subject to, I find that people use it for just sometimes for not expressing anything good, but for expressing something that's inside them anti-God. Absolutely anti-God thing. I hope today they will behave themselves, and it will be a good time for them, that they should enjoy the bliss of God. I must thank for people who rang me up to say that they received their vibrations on the television, and that they telephoned to me, and they found out my phone number because my phone number was not available. And it should happen to all of you today that you should get your realization. So the first intense feeling should be that we should get our realization. Somehow we get it, and then we'll talk about the rest of the thing. Yesterday I gave a lot of time for questions, and today I think we have very little time, but still I can allow you to ask 2-3 questions, and then we should go ahead with the procedure of realization. But too many questions are not needed. What you need is your realization. Actually, if you ask too many questions, sometimes the realization doesn't work out. Not to frighten you, but I tell you, because your mind starts working. You have to, take it beyond your mind. Tomorrow I'll tell you about that great chakra of Agya, which is bestowed upon the deity of Jesus Christ. That how, when the Kundalini rises through it, how he sucks in these two horrible things called ego and superego, and how you become thoughtlessly aware, and you come in the present. And you become, when it comes out of your fontanelle bone area, the real baptism takes place, and you get connected. You get connected with the whole, and you become collectively conscious. You become, again I say, it's actualization. It is not just talking that we are all brothers and sisters, but you just become. It comes in your awareness, and you start feeling the other person on your fingertips. Yourself on your fingertips. As Muhammad has said, at the time of resurrection, your hands will speak. He has spoken more about this time than about the doomsday, but all the Muslims are talking about the doomsday only. I don't know why they are waiting for that before this. So first the resurrection time has to come, because in all graciousness and kindness and compassion of God, He is going to give us a full chance to achieve ourselves, because this is His creation. He is anxious to do it. He doesn't want His creation to be destroyed. So may God bless you.